with everybody making these car payment videos now, I wanted to make a video of my own about my own experience with cars. And the very first car that I ever bought debt-free, and it is this 2007 Toyota Corolla. Now, let me give you some background on why we had bought this car. At the time, it was 2016. My wife and I already had a vehicle that we had purchased together, and we had a small car payment on it. It was less than $300 at the time. And we had just gotten into a car accident. The car had been rear-ended, and we were in a position where we didn't have a car, and we had to make a decision on what kind of car we were gonna get. After talking to the insurance company and getting that money back, the value that the car brought was more than what we owed on that car. So we were able to pay the car off, and we still had a little bit of money. So we're thinking, okay, what do we want to do? We have a choice. We can either get a new car again, right? Like at the same value or same sort of tier as the car we already had, or we can get a cheaper car and maybe pocket some money and not have a car payment. And that's the route we went. Mainly, we decided on that route because we were like just starting to try to build our lives together. We had both just got out of like consumer debt, essentially. We were trying to save up for a house. So we didn't have any credit cards. We didn't have any student loans. All of that was gone. We had just got out of that portion, right? And we figured, why add more of a strain on our budget just for something that we're literally only going to go back and forth in? We're going to necessarily drive this asset into the ground. It's necessarily going to be less valuable the longer that you have it, unless you got some exotic car or something like that. So we got this car. I think we paid like $5,000 or $6,000. I have no idea. And I don't even remember how many miles were on it at the time. I know that we've had it for 8 years now. So 2016 and now it's 2025. So almost 9 years. It currently has, well, you know, let me see if I can show you. See that? 233,000 miles. I'll be honest, some days I honestly don't know how this car is still running. I do take it every now and again on longer drives since it's not our primary vehicle anymore. I get it, you know, scheduled regular maintenance, oil changes, that kind of thing. But cosmetically, I could do a much better job of taking care of this car. And it just does not seem to care. It just keeps going. It starts, unless it is like below zero, it always starts. And for those of you who were looking at that, the mileage, you might have saw right above that is the temperature. It's 8 degrees right now. I live in Minnesota. So even in 8-degree weather, it's like, all right, let's go. Unless it's like -10, that's the only time where it's like, might not start. It might need a little time. But other than that, I really don't have many complaints about this car. Now, let me talk a little bit about maintenance, because I feel like the perception with older cars is that you're going to have to pay, you know, thousands and thousands in maintenance, which makes it not worth it because you are going to spend all the money you would have saved in the car payment on, you know, getting it fixed every, you know, 2 weeks, 2 months, whatever it is. We've had very little maintenance costs on this car. We've had the occasional, like we had a light bulb go out, that kind of thing. But outside of that and oil changes, I think we've had one major repair on this car, maybe two. I might be forgetting something, but all of those have usually been like the most we spent at one time in this car was, I think, $1,200. And that was to do with something with like the springs and like something with the alignment or axles in the front of the car. Like they had to be completely replaced. So, but that was just like a year and a half ago. So it lasted for the first 7-ish years of its life without any major maintenance. And to be frank, that maintenance cost probably had a lot to do with how we took care of the car. Like we probably could have avoided that if we took better care of this car, and I haven't. Like, so with all of those things, with all of the time we have put mileage on this car, we have drove it into the ground, it's still at 233,000 miles has only really pooped out on us one time. For me, I think that's pretty good because all in, if you think about the cost, all in, $6,000 to purchase, a couple thousand if I'm being generous on expenses for maintenance, we've still spent altogether in 8 years, almost 9, less than $10,000 on this car. And it is done phenomenally for us in terms of getting us from point A to B. So even if you consider maintenance, we still spent far, far less on this car than we would have if we had the average car payment, which now is probably in like the 500s. For new cars, it's even more. It's like $700 a month. So yeah, big money savings here. If I know it's different now because after the pandemic, car prices have gotten crazy, but if you still can find a car that doesn't look as great, but can get you where you need to go, I absolutely recommend it, especially some of the more reliable brands. Their prices have gone up too, but still, for what you're gonna get out of the car, in my opinion, it's more than worth it. The other thing for me is that this car represents the kind of the start of our lives together as like married couple. Like, we were engaged when we got this car. I brought my daughter home in this car. So this car has a special place in my heart because there's a lot of firsts in this car that I no matter what, I'll never forget. And honestly, they wouldn't have been any more memorable if it happened in a nicer car. Like, I would not have been more emotional about my daughter if this car was like souped up and fancy. But if you are somebody who doesn't want to drive a car like this for the rest of your life, I completely understand. But just remember something. If you decide to drive a car like this to better your financial position, that's a temporary decision so that you can get to a better place. The idea is to get yourself out of debt. That's what a car like this is for. And it is a beautiful tool to do just that. Because while everybody else is looking at how your car looks, you should be looking at how your wallet looks. And let me tell you, a car like this will absolutely help your wallet. So just something to think about. Cars that look a little frumpy don't have to be the rest of your life. It's most likely going to be cheaper to buy yourself a car like this for the long term. And remember, the people outside of your household don't need to know what you got going on. Who cares what they think? Do what's best for you. And if that's getting a car that looks a little nicer, all right, cool. And if it's getting a car like this, go for it. I'm all about it. Either way, make the decision that's right for you. Forget about all the noise. Forget about all the things that other people were saying about it, and just do what's right for you. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you later. Peace.